Welcome to Music Outlook LA, the podcast which highlights the independent artist, whether they are a musician, vocalist, actor, actress, live audio or in-studio engineer, or a videographer, photographer. I'm your host, Will Kimsey. Each episode, we'll look at the gigs of the independent artists, from the venues we play to how we set up and break down, the gear we use and why we use it, and the info we hope you'll find useful as we all make our way in the entertainment industry. Music Outlook LA is brought to you by Kim Z Entertainment LLC. Go to kim-zentertainment.com to find out what they're doing for the independent artists. Kim Z Entertainment LLC. Independent entertainment done independently. My guest today is Eden Levin, lead singer for the swing brass metal band Shoo Bee Doom out of Leipzig, Germany. We're going to talk about the musical fusion of swing and metal, hence the name, their gigs, gear, and see what info she'd like to share with other indie artists. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Eden Levin.
Hi, nice to meet you and nice to meet everyone who's listening.
All right.
Not really meet, but I hope you'll meet me.
Very good, very good. All right. You had me with the name. Being a musician since I was born, I'm a keyboard player, by the way. I got it right away. And for those who just went over your head, Shoo Bee Doom, take Shoo Bee Doo, old jazz scat syllables, and replace it with doom, the metal part. And there you have it. So, since you describe your sound as swing and metal, break down how you got this fusion together.
Absolutely. So, well, it's great to start a little bit with a background. We started the band together, my husband and I. We're probably going to get into the story deeper later, but we both are metalheads. We both are coming from the metal world. And a couple of years ago is where we discovered, quote unquote, electro swing. And I mean, that was really coincidental, kind of looking for something to put in that is not like too heavy, that we can, I don't know, clean the house to, or, do something not as important, but still you need to focus a little bit. And somehow electro swing came to our world, and it was really... we had like a phase, you know how you have phases of genres or phases of music? Then we had an electro swing phase. And that's how it came about to combine both genres together. And it's kind of hard if you're listening to the songs to put your finger on and say, okay, this is where the swing comes in, or this is where metal comes in, because it's clean vocals, so there are no growls. And then like people from the metal world are like, I'm not sure, And then people who only listen to swing and jazz are also like, that's not really swing. But I mean, it's kind of like the best way that we found to describe that, because we do use a little bit of the combination of horns and brass instruments, and also the beat and the tempo of swing sometimes in jazz. And we also have one funk metal song, so it's kind of like still in the same world. And yet we do still use heavy drums, heavy electric guitars. We have the bass. We have some drops, some like parts that are a little bit heavier. So it's definitely not your typical heavy metal. It's definitely not your typical swing or electro swing, but this is how we found in the middle. Let's go with the middle.
All right. Yeah. I'm digging on that. So then with this, because they are two completely different genres, some would say almost on the opposite ends of the musical spectrum, what were some of the biggest challenges that you had in blending those two genres together to come up with the Shoo Bee Doom?
Right. So, well, as I said, we come from the metal world, rock metal. So that part we got somewhat covered. Let's say my husband, he is the one who had a metal band before. So we can
Mm-hmm.
say the writing of metal was there. It was completely new for us to start writing the swing part. So because it's again, we're using different tempo, we're using different, the writing of swing and jazz in particular is like really, really different. And we never wrote anything for horn instruments, and like the saxophone, which was like for me is my favorite instrument.
Mm-hmm.
We never
Mm-hmm.
wrote any saxophone parts. We never wrote big band parts, and it was quite challenging because sometimes they clash with the tone and like with the how they take the part, because sometimes it's very low, like the bass, so you need to kind of make sure they don't blend too much, so you can still hear everything. And also, we both are not really into notes. So he's a guitarist. You can go fine with tabs, and as a singer, if you're not a classical singer, which I'm not, then you definitely don't need notes. It's great to have, but I don't have to have them. So then when you go to saxophone, and our saxophone player, he comes from he played in an orchestra, and when you play in an orchestra, you have a completely different method of learning of playing. You don't even have to remember your parts or even how to play that. So that was a whole new world for us to discover, even like the basic communication between each other, how to even communicate what we want to do. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you managed to answer about 4 questions all at once that I had lined up for you. So thank you for just shooting through that whole
I'm
paragraph,
sure
if you
I
will.
have a lot more to tell you.
Oh, well, I'm very interested, and so are our listeners. So I'll just skip to this one. Since you are taking the two, and you discussed, which is true about music theory, you don't always have to be someone who reads music. I mean, I do read music. I've been playing piano, classically trained for over 40 years, orchestras, bands, you name it. And
Amazing.
I've been doing, I'm playing with a cover band right now, and we're doing a combination of funk, rock, old 70s, blues, Zydeco songs, and I have to cover all the keyboard parts, fill in the empty spaces, play the horns. So I understand that world, because when you are writing for horns, theory is quite involved. So yeah, I do get out the staff paper. I hand write out all the parts,
Oh.
and I do arranging. I was an arranging major. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. So, I'm a music head, hence the scarf. So, which leads me to this. When you're writing, do you start with the swing melody and add the metal? Or do you start with the metal as your foundation and put the swing or the jazz riffs on top of that?
Yeah. Well, we don't go that straightforward.
Okay.
Let's go with that. So first of all, it's important to mention that our way of writing is quite chaotic. So
Uh-oh.
yeah, I mean, it's not like it's not that methodical as, I don't know if I would say if I would wish for, but kind of like it's something that I can't really put the finger on how are we doing that as a method.
Mm-hmm.
But because Tom is like the brains behind it, he's the one writing songs for like 12 years already, and we have our own home studio, so we don't have to write everything, practice it, and then go to the studio, but rather we can just sit down in our office at home and start writing and recording and see what comes up and so on. So that's what makes it more chaotic than other musicians I know, and how they are operating. So what happens is normally it comes from a sentence, or it comes from part of a scatting that Tom discovered, or part of a guitar that he came up. You know how when you're a musician, you probably are familiar with this. You just shower, and all of a sudden you're like, God damn, I have something. You know, and you're like, oh my God, how am I remembering this? So
there you go. There you go.
That's the day of Tom, my husband. He is like, he goes to bed and I'm there already sleeping in. He's like, oh shit, now it comes to me, and he has to get out of bed because I'm sleeping and hum, into his phone. So it's just like sparks of inspiration, and it can be from everywhere. And I think it's mostly like one sentence that we start with, and then we start writing. I think for him, it's easier to start with the metal part and then bring the other instruments too. But sometimes he's like, that is awesome for a saxophone solo, whatever. So as I said, a bit chaotic, but right. I think we're getting to the rhythm because we only have 7 songs, coming up 8. I'm not going to say anything before you're asking me because
right.
So we're still learning a lot on everything and how to do that. So,
okay, yeah. That works. That works. So I was reading your bio about the band and everything. And for starters, I just want to say that you are my first international artist for Music Outlook LA. So you have just shattered the glass ceiling. But in your about section on your page, shoobeedoo.com, you mentioned that your band was born out of a desire to escape the mundane.
Yeah.
So then if I were going to a show, and by the way, I listened to What the Funk. That's slamming. I like it. That song is slamming. What can us fans, because you now have one in me, expect from one of your performances? And what's the energy like? I mean, I saw a video and it's kind of metally, no mosh pits.
No mosh pits.
But, I just see somebody trying metal, to figure out your music. I thought I saw somebody like, did he just go to a G minor 7 flat 5 and up to the C? And I'm like, oh, these are thinking people. Not that metalheads aren't, but, it's like, okay. So I'm going to leave it to you. Tell me, what can I expect from one of your performances, and what's the energy like?
Right. I mean, I think it starts with kind of like, when we thought of creating the band, a lot of it was like, that would be very theatrical. That would be like, first of all, I call it like fun metal or like party metal. So it is heavy, but it's still very fun, and you can dance to it and you can really jump. And I always say, you're not sure if you want to headbang to it or shuffle, or, it's like, it can be both. So already from the part of people I see on stage, the confusion. Sometimes people have like, how do I dance to it? And then when they let go and they're like, okay, I will just do my own thing. And you see every shape and form of dancing to our song. There you go. Then that's where the magic happens. So already just from the music part, because people are so surprised still from what we do, that is one. I mean, we aim to go really theatrical. I mean, for me, the vision is to even have, at some point when we are big enough, like a circus coming in, like somehow we have like a circus performance while we are performing, and really want to mash the theatrical part way more into the performance than normally you see in metal. But we do add the crowd a lot. So you heard What the Funk. So we have in the chorus like and we teach the crowd before how they can join, and then they're having so much fun that even though it's only two times that they need to join, they join the whole 4. So
all right.
They're having so much fun.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is a very high energy band. I love it. I love it. Which also goes to how important the audience reaction and their interaction is. You just talked about that. And yeah, apparently you do encourage the participation of your audience.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
Let's just ask you right about this. What's the most rewarding part of performing live for you as a band and maybe even as a singer?
Yeah. So I will answer to that question with a story, if you don't mind.
Okay.
We went, our first gig abroad was in Poland. So if you don't know, Leipzig is east of Germany, and to that location in Poland, which was kind of close to the border with Germany, it took around 4 hours with a car to drive. So we, obviously with the trailer and all of the instruments and so on, so it takes a bit longer. If it was without that, it was like 3.5 hours or so. We did not know what to expect. It was the first time abroad, and we didn't know how the crowd in Poland is. And it was a small concert. And we played there. We were like the second band out of 3. And when we left the stage, I always tend to go, remove all the equipment I have and immediately go to the merch table to see what the reaction is and to talk to people and so on. Immediately, I encountered one person who danced the whole time, and she came and she hugged me and she kissed me on the cheek. Aww. And she was like, thank you, and you're amazing. And then she brought her husband to hug me, and then she brought her son to take pictures with me. And it was like really a lot of love. And they were not the only ones who hugged me at that evening. I was like, I never expected that from Poland. That was quite, it was like a very small town in Poland. And it was like, you see how much they appreciate the fact you did the drive, you came all the way. It was also a town that just like 2 weeks before had a really horrible flood. And it's kind of like, oh, now we can forget everything and be with you on that stage. So it was really, really amazing. So out of that story, for me, I tell everyone, I only need one person who dance the crap out of themselves, who buys a shirt and put it on them and joins the dancing. And we even had one person who came to our second concert, I think it was, bought a shirt, put it on, and he was singing with me one of our original songs. As a musician, what can it do to your heart? You're like, wow. That was amazing. That was really one thing I would never forget. Those are the things you would never forget, because you understand, you touch people, you moved something in them. People stick around to like 1 a.m. at night to continue to talk to me after the concert is over. I'm like, look, I need to leave at some point, but they just want to keep on talking to me and buying our merch and stuff like that, because we did something to them. And I think this is so important, and it's really what moves me to be part of this. And it's really, really amazing.
So I guess it's safe to say that whipping your fans into a wild frenzy is been achieved.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's jump right into what you're using, because you mentioned that you have to load up the van. And trust me, I know what that's like. I load up 2 keyboards, and sometimes I do have to do live audio while I'm playing. So that's 2 big 15-inch 1,000-watt speakers and the whole 9 yards. Schlep them in the vehicle and go on to the gig. I have a T-shirt and I wear it to rehearsal sometimes. It's the definition of a musician. I may get the numbers and things wrong, but it's basically a musician. Someone who loads $5,000 worth of gear into a $1,000 car to drive 500 miles for a $50 gig.
Absolutely.
That is our life. That
I
is
mean,
our
it's
life.
more like a minus 500. If you're
Well,
calculating everything that you're never earning anything. So,
yeah, well, we do it because we love it, and eventually we will do it to make that money. So, I mean, you do what you love, you do what you
absolutely.
love. So, speaking of
Mhm.
the gear, you have the studio at home.
We have to stay
I'm
at
running on
home.
Logic. I'm an Apple head. What are you guys using for your recording?
That is Cubase.
Cubase.
Yeah, Tom is super professional with Cubase. He is the one who's the producer, mix master. He writes everything. Really, it's he is the mastermind behind everything, and he was even doing courses about how to use Cubase, so you can be quite sure he's not leaving Cubase anytime soon. Yeah,
All
if
right.
we're talking about plugins, don't even start. This is like a whole list. It's you never ending. And every time he's like, I have one plugin that I bought. That is the last one. I'm sure it's the. I'm yeah, sure. Of course, it is the last plugin. Absolutely.
That's like a guitarist.
Exactly.
They have 20, 30 guitars, and they're telling their wife or husband, whomever, last one, I swear. Last one, I
I just
swear.
need that one.
And that's it. That's it. That's all. Nothing else. Nothing else. Um, and
He
then,
tried to sneak in an 8-string guitar by
uh-oh.
saying, "Oh, this song, I have to have this 8-string guitar because I wrote it like this." And I'm like, "No, you're changing how you wrote it
Oh,
because you're not. You just got a 7-string guitar. Let's not just step another string every new song, please."
oh, see. I have to get permission if I want to buy anything. And I think that's actually a good thing if I have to ask ahead of time.
Sure.
So, on any of the gear that you use, do you use the same thing when you're doing it live? Because I watched not just What the Funk, but one of your other jams, and I'm impressed with the videography that goes on. And I mean, I think it looks like something that should be on MTV or VH1,
Thank
quite honestly
you.
speaking.
Wow.
Um, and by the way, I'm going to send you a link to something that I did later, and you can let me know what you think.
Oh,
But do
please.
you use some of the same gear for when you're recording it live, or what do you do?
No, I mean, well, okay, so we have different stuff. So obviously on in the studio, we're using the that one I know,
Mhm.
SM7B. So this is like the microphone. It's always staying
Yes,
here. We're not using it on stage.
right.
But I mean, we do have a rack, like a whole huge rack with everything we need. Please don't ask me too deeply in there because this is the our saxophone player is the tech guy and he knows everything about that rack. He built it. He's like super handy as well. He also built all of our lights. We have like 8 LEDs behind and like
Hmm.
2 spotlights in the front and yeah, a whole thing. So if we're talking about a huge trailer full of stuff, absolutely
All
everything is
right.
going in. Um, but we do like the other singers are using the other people who sing the backing vocals. They're using the SM uh,
SM58s?
58, yeah, the very normal one. I just got a new SM Beta Blue, and I was super
Nice.
excited about it. That was
Nice.
actually my birthday gift because of my birthday was yesterday. So
Happy birthday to
thank
you.
you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
Oh, wow.
birthday, dear Eden. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
I
I'm very
listen to Frank
excited.
Sinatra, so
Ah,
I hope I did him justice. I tried.
I got the feeling.
Good, good. Because he never
Yeah.
goes up high, and he stays right normal. And I like Frank. Frank is cool. Frank is cool. I can work with that. Um,
Yeah. And we are
so
when we are recording live sessions, we are recording through the rec. So
mhm.
everything comes in and we have in-ear system in the rec. So we hear everything, including playback track, click track. everything inside. We are pretty digital. We also have like electric drums, so that is super amazing for recording or for live. You know, when you need to do the sound check, it goes really quickly. Yeah, so
One thing that's cool about electric drums is that they don't take up as much space as a regular drum set.
well, not this one.
Uh-oh.
That was it was quite a big wreck because quite a big yeah, it's actually a record. It's like it's a whole thing. It actually sometimes is larger than some of the small sets that I've seen, like the small acoustic ones. But it's very easy to operate, like to move. So if we are like the opener and we need to really quickly move everything away, you just pick it up because everything is connected to like one skeleton.
Right.
So you pick it all up and you remove it from stage. That's one really good thing about it. And also it's really funny because you can actually change the sounds. Like you can change, you have I don't know how many drum sets that you can put inside, and sometimes when we are trying to fix something or we are trying to I don't know, operate whatever, and the drummer is like, oh my god, I'm so bored now, you know how they always like super super hyper, and they're like, what am I doing with my hands and feet? I can't stay still. Then he just switches to like a very funny kind of synthetic sound and is like, and we hear it and it's really funny. So
Well, that
also
is
some
cool.
perks.
All right. That is all right. I mean, it sounds like you guys have a lot of fun in your band, and that's one of the most important things in music. You have to do what you love and have fun doing it.
I
So
think
let's
so
get
too.
right to your music. You've got music on iTunes, you're on Spotify, you've got YouTube, you're on SoundCloud, Bandcamp. Think you told me you've got another one coming out, another song coming out, so that takes it to 6?
6 originals. I mean,
All
also
right.
2 covers that are released. I don't know if you've noticed I think one you definitely are familiar with, Hit the Road. That was
Okay.
so much fun to do. One of my favorite covers of all time, for sure.
All right.
Um,
I'm going to go
yeah.
check that one out because I want to see what happens with Jack and see if he don't come back no more. How you guys, your take on it. That would be great. So then what's going to be coming up next? Give us an idea of what's going on.
Just before I do that, one reference that I want you also to know is that
Mm,
we have one song. It's called "I Gotta Sing," and it's actually we got inspired by a very old swing song called "Sing Sing Sing" by Benny
right.
Goodman. And for those who are listening, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably heard that track. You just
Mm,
maybe are not connecting the dots. It's very, very, very familiar. And we kind of played on the fact that it's called Sing, 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 but has no lyrics whatsoever to the song. It's just an instrumental song. And we call the song I Gotta Sing.
right.
And the first sentence is by Tom, the guitarist, saying, "Well, you're gonna sing or what?" So it's it's really kind of like a play on that, kind of like an inside joke that we have. But what's coming up is we are going to release on the 23rd of January 2025 the new song called "Cycle of a Psycho," which is having a little bit of more metal parts, like a drop to it, yet still very fun. You can definitely recognize where the swing comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And that one song is, if I have to choose a topic of what is it about, is if you know the saying that the definition of crazy is doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Mm-hmm.
That is the whole topic of Cycle of a Psycho. Basically, just trying to keep on doing the same thing and expecting something different to happen. Very fun, very upbeat, and we're gonna also dance it a little bit on stage. So it's gonna be very much fun.
All right. So you mentioned that you're going to incorporate kind of big production value to your band's overall stage presence and your show and everything else. I would consider that a milestone. You got any other ones that you're trying to achieve there?
Well, we are still figuring out a lot. As I said,
Right.
we are very new. And even, I mean, you can even think about the beginning of even mix mastering the songs is like, we don't have a reference. Normally you use some form of reference and we couldn't have a reference. So it was everything was new, who the crowd is, how do you promote it, all of that jazz. So one of the things we are still trying to figure out is even our stage outfits. So is it more black? Is it more jazz? So it's like we're constantly doing experiments also in terms of how hot it gets on stage. There's like, I can't understand those people who have like a lot of costume on themselves, like shields, and the power metal guys, they have like shields sometimes and like a lot of makeup and all of that. So we're still trying to figure out the kind of style that we have or that we should have or that we want to have. And I think along with that comes also the way we are performing, what we're saying on stage, how does it look like? I was thinking even to incorporate some recorded narration. So kind of as if I am talking to that narration. And I mean, we're still thinking about it and seeing how that works. I mean, one of the challenges we have in general that I haven't mentioned before is that Tom and I are actually not Germans. We come originally from Israel. We live here for 7 years,
Right.
but the language barrier is still quite big. Now, I do speak German, but there is speaking to private people one-on-one, and there is being on stage and trying to speak German, which is very difficult and very different because you sometimes need to improvise and and from what I see myself in that part of the on stage is some form of, like in the cabaret or in I imagine always like in Las Vegas, you have those people who are coming and inviting you, welcome to the cabaret, da 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 da, all of those. So I imagine myself being that person, being like, you're joining into our world kind of situation. And for that, I imagine me needing to be very good at articulating what I'm saying. So you can maybe hear, I feel much more comfortable in English than in German. And therefore and we encounter that question constantly. We played mostly in Germany. Why are we not speaking in German on stage? That was like constantly a question, which I was kind of bothered by. But at some point you can't really change the crowd. You can just try to adapt yourself as good as you can. So that's also where this idea came from of having that narration maybe in different languages, and then I don't have to constantly battle with what I'm saying on stage. So yeah, gonna be a lot of experimenting, but it's what I love. I come from chemistry, so experimenting is a good thing. It's something I do a lot.
All right, very good, very good. So then, before I get to the last question, I want to talk about one aspect in What the Funk video. And I was trying to figure out, how do I ask this and segue into it? And it's actually a very simple question, but you just did, mentioning the chemistry. So I take it you were a teacher at some point?
Yeah.
All right. So then I guess a dumb question would be, in your scene, for those who haven't seen the video, go to shoobeedoom.com and look up the song. It is called Burning Out, What the Funk. And there's a scene where Eden is teaching class. The formula that's on the whiteboard, did you actually write that out? Did you actually understand that formula where the answer ends up being 7? Because I mean, that looked a lot like, I don't know, business calculus, and I couldn't get business calculus to save my soul. The only thing I could remember from any math was the old Pythagorean theorem from algebra: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's all I remember. So,
Right.
was you understood what was on the whiteboard, though, didn't you?
If I'm very, very honest, I could probably something that I have learned in my past. I have a bachelor in chemistry, so it's probably something I have learned. But after finishing my degree, and I kind of left the very, very high education part of chemistry in the university, because then I did go and teach. I was a teacher in 10th grade for 10th graders, and they definitely did not need that equation.
Oh, wow.
So and that was 2000. I finished my degree in 2014, so it's been a while. It's been like 10 years, if not more. So I was looking for like a formula in, some form of a bachelor degree in chemistry. I found something and I was like, that looks scary enough to be fitting to that scene. And if you look carefully in the video, the answer was definitely not 7.
I kind of figured that, judging by the expression on your face.
Exactly.
with the girl looking to her friend and him cheating for her, holding up 7 on his hands, she writes it and she's got this big cheesy grin like she just did something really special, and you're just like
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm happy to say, but it's like that most of the experiences that you see on the video, it's basically for those of you who don't haven't seen it before, the whole topic of that song is about burning out from jobs and where you can find those either daunting tasks or not being appreciated, but where you're working. And teachers, I think, are definitely part of that second tier I said. And so we each and every member of the band have their own job or profession in the video, and we are showing for each profession what are kind of like the challenges and where does it fit into the topic. And by the way, from all 5 members, I was the only one who acted as something I actually did before. So the rest did not. Yeah, they were not. They didn't have that profession, but we do know people who did that. For our saxophone player, he was in The Office, and all of the scenes I actually took inspiration from my mom, who was a secretary, and like the pile of paper that just keeps on getting piled up. And let me tell you, my favorite scene is with the printer. I don't want to tell, and I don't want to spoiler people in what happened to the printer, but if you hate printer as much as I do, go and check what happened in the video. It was my favorite scene of all time, for sure.
All right. So how long did it take for you guys to film the video?
So it's, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 7 locations, including the stage performance, which that was actually quite a happy accident that we had that. But it took us, I think, 3 weeks. I want to say 3 weeks. Yeah. We had to go in different locations, so it was very low budget, by the way. The camera was my phone. So it's very, very useful to have stuff. And since Tom and I, we both have background also in video editing, that was very useful to have. We're kind of a one-stop shop kind of a band. We still have a lot of things we don't know how to do. Booking gigs is one of them, but definitely when it comes to producing media, we're there.
I can relate to that. I know when I'm doing video, like I said, I'm an Apple head and I use Final Cut Pro. So I use that, and sometimes I'll use iMovie, but I get it on the video editing. So that was just 3 weeks in shooting, you said?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really a lot that we did there, but because I guess of how we cut it out, it looks more than it is. But every scene was shot like between 1 and 2 hours, I guess. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and then we just cut it all up.
Right. So how much time did it take for your editing?
I think a week. I want to say a week. Yeah, something like that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Because, I mean, that comes with syncing the audio if you have to. Because I know that, and like when I send you the video of what I've done, you'll see that I get it. You have your audio coming in for you to hear. Then you'll have the track itself that you'll have to put back in so it doesn't sound like it's coming through a can. And it sounds like something of high production. So that's where the syncing comes in, because you've got to, in some cases, line up the face and the lips to the lyric.
Right.
And if you are off slightly, not only will you notice it, but so will your viewer. They'll notice it. So that was actually one of the hardest things for me to get under my belt, was syncing. And, now that you mentioned using your phone, you no longer have to lug around heavy equipment, giant cameras and such. But at the same time, you also have to know how to do your editing, how to pan from one scene to the next, whether you want to do a quick scene change, or if you want to fade in slowly to the next one, or whatever it is you want to do. So
color correction, that was a whole thing also as well.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
That's my part.
Right. Because I mean,
it's helpful with that we have the both of us. So Tom is having fun with like rough cuts and synchronizing the lips to the music, as you mentioned, and then he's like, and then color correction, please, kind of like a that's on you now. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
But actually the one video that we did that was the most difficult to make was actually, we have a lyric video of our first song, Old School Medicine. And the whole song, the lyrics are very, I don't want to say complex, but they have a lot of meaning behind them. We have Easter eggs behind them. We have wordplay behind them. And so a lot of it goes into the visuals as well. So there's a lot of afterthought for everything that we did for lyric wise and also the video. But we combined the lyrics into not only visuals that are Tom did it. I am zero in After Effects, like we're using Adobe. So he did a lot of that, but also, and combining 3D and whatnot, but also we have filmed ourselves dancing and basically performing, and then he made that as silhouettes and combined that into the video. So the whole thing took way, way more than a whole month to make. So,
oh wow! Yeah, I imagine with all that, it would take a while. That sounds exciting. I can't wait to check that one out myself.
You definitely should.
All right. So let's wrap this up. And you guys are quite interesting. I would love to get you back on another show and maybe grab Tom and anybody else in the band that wants to camp on and do it as well. But for bands trying to break into the music scene, And you guys have been around at least for 10 years, right? I would say.
No, what? With only 7 songs, that would be horrific.
Yeah, that would be. That would be.
No, we are officially 1.5 years. Let's go with that.
All right.
Definitely not 10 years.
I got confused with your previous
professional
with
level
your previous
of
profession. Yes, I got my numbers mixed up. Forgive me, Lord.
Yeah.
Anyway, but for those trying to get in, what advice would you give to bands like yourselves that have some would say, unique and unconventional sound?
So, wow, I have many. But I would say, first of all, and I think it's important to whoever, right? It's not only musicians that do different genres that the norm, or they're coming up with something very, very new. First of all, understand what your goals are. Because if you just want to be a hobby singer or a hobby band or a hobby musician in general, that's amazing. That's great. You're going to have really easy life. Mm-hmm. But you have to know that, because if you're combining, having actions of hobbyist with the wishes of a professional musician, then that's where you're in trouble. And if you have your goals aligned and understood, especially if you're in a band, if you have a band or if you are creating a band and you know what your goals are, it's the best way, because then you know to tell that to the band members or the coming band members, to let them know this is where we're going with this band. If you are on board with whatever that means, with whatever repercussions of that, then you're good to go. So that is the first thing. But if we're talking in particular about people who bring something very new, I understand the appeal of, oh my God, I'm creating something very, very new. Nobody's heard of it and so on. But that comes also with the challenges of nobody's heard of it. So a lot of bands that are, I don't know, another hip hop artist or another heavy metal or another pop, they can say, if you like, put the band name here or put the artist name here, then you would like me. But we didn't have that. We didn't know who our crowd is. We didn't know who our audience is. We thought a bit in the beginning, maybe those who like swing were actually like our music. That turned out to be not that true. Also, those who like super extreme hardcore screaming metal, they don't like us either. So we but we discovered actually that we can be more mainstream than we thought. So even I got this comment a lot actually from guys coming to me saying, you know what, I love metal. My girlfriend doesn't, but she likes you. So it's kind of like, hey, if you want to let your girlfriend, wife, whatever friend you want into metal, but they are not really into metal, but they're into pop or something like that, and they're open to new stuff, that might be the way to get them into metal, because when they listen to us, you can say, hey, now you're listening to metal. So that's one way. So basically, to understand who your audience is by really experimenting a lot. So we did advertisement for we did the meta advertisement, and there we targeted different groups, the like metal, different artists that are their interest, and so that's how we discovered kind of who likes us. And when you understand that, you also understand how to market to them, how to find more of them. So that is what I would. And please be patient. Please, you need patience in this process, because if you're coming up with, I will be discovered in 1 year, you will be disappointed. And like not even 99.9%, but 100% you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. So it's going to take time. The business has changed. Technology has changed. Everything has changed.
Attention span has changed.
Yes, but the one thing that has not changed is how much time things take. Yes. You have to be patient. You really do have to be patient in this business. And I'm going to wrap it up with one question. I forgot to send it to you, but it's an easy one. It's real easy. You mentioned how long it took for you guys to get from Poland back to Germany and to get from Germany to Poland. Okay, so I asked this of all my guests closing out, and you'll get it. It's what's in your car. In other words, what do you guys listen to when you're out and about? And what did you guys listen to getting on that 4-hour road trip? What do you guys listen to?
Well, mostly to our self-talk because you cannot be with like 4 people in one car and just constantly be quiet and not listen to anything, not speak. But actually, I think the one who is in the not the driver's seat, but the passenger seat right next to the driver, he is the one taking charge of the playlist. And I discovered that all of us have both metal songs and swing songs and the in between. So like cross genres, and it's quite interesting because you would imagine that I would think that from band members who would like our music, I mean, if they are in our band, they have to like our music. So they also have to be open to more than one genre. Yeah. So we definitely have jazz, we have swing, we have metal, we have avant-garde metal, we have electro swing, we have everything. But it's still background music because we are talking the whole time when we're not super tired. But yeah, because imagine that you're we played in Poland, we finished, we came back to the hotel at 2 a.m. and at 9 a.m. At 9 a.m. we already left the hotel, I think it was. And you definitely don't go to bed at 2:30 a.m. because you just finished a concert. You're super hyped. It took me like an hour to fall asleep. And I had to wake up, go to the supermarket and make some proper breakfast for us. So yeah, that was like 3 hours of sleeping. So.
Oh my gosh.
And we had a concert the day after in Leipzig back. So we had to really... Yeah, that was really tough.
Yeah, so you had to get back, and it's the life of a musician, folks. That's what we do, and we do it because we love it.
We don't know otherwise. We can't do anything else.
It's in our blood. We can't help ourselves. We go from gig to gig, and like I said, we do it because we love it.
Absolutely.
Eden Levin, thank you very much for being a guest on Music Outlook LA. And just so you know what that really means, back in the day, you remember the old sailing ships that they had, the big giant ones, the big clipper ships? Well, at the very top, the crow's nest, where the guy they would sit and land ho, watch out for the land so you wouldn't run aground. It's also called an outlook. So that's where I got the name from, Music Outlook. And of course, I'm in LA. There you go. So that's it. Music Outlook LA. I'm looking out for all the indie artists. And even if you're not independent and you work for someone, I'm looking out for you too so you can get the word out. Shoo Bee Doom. Listen to them. They're
Thank
great.
you so much.
They are a great band. I love it. I love how you guys have fused the two genres together. I am a jazz head, R&B, and I like how your arrangements came out. And I'm going to be looking forward to some more work coming from you guys. So again, Eden, thank you very much for being a part of the show. And be sure to check out the show notes that we have here. They'll be at the end for the website so that you can go to shoobeedoom.com. And please, folks, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show at both Spreaker.com, Spreaker.com, and we're also on YouTube. Music Outlook LA is also available on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Play, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, Spotify, CastBox. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on TuneIn and Listen Notes, which is the podcast search engine. And if you don't mind, go give us a rating on podchaser.com. I'm Will Kimsey, a.k.a. WK Music. Peace. This podcast is both brought to you and produced by Kimsey Entertainment, LLC. Music Outlook LA is a copyrighted broadcast of Kimsey Entertainment, LLC. The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of Will Kimsey or Kimsey Entertainment, LLC. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or any other use of this product without the express written consent of Kimsey Entertainment, LLC is strictly prohibited.